Today, I want to unpack together one of my favorite reveals in my Cosmic Cash Code sessions that, if you've been listening to the podcast, you've also heard a little bit about in my interviews, which is your money mode. And this is like a really simplified thing that we can see in your chart that makes entrepreneurs different from one another. It's the reason why one way is not one size fits all, does not work for everyone. And as a professional abundance astrologer, but also as an Aquarian person, I just love stuff like this. Once upon a time, I was so into personality tests. But I find that your astrology chart, the profiles in the systems that are based on our birth moment, are so telling of why one way works for one person, but not for another. If you are self employed, if you are an entrepreneur, there are clues in your birth chart around the way that you are uniquely designed, not only to make money, but also to invest and grow money. But it's even more than that. It's not just about how you make your money, like how you are going to channel more abundance with less friction, but it's also how you're going to make money that's going to feel the most fulfilling to you, right? Half the equation is that we're getting compensated for what we're doing, but the other half is that we're doing it in a way that feels right for us, that feels aligned, that feels relatively frictionless to other ways that we could be doing it. And really feels like we're on to something in terms of doing this whole self-employed money-making game in a way that feels like it was designed especially for us, because there is a way that it was designed to work the best for you. What I'm going to talk about in this episode is slightly reductionist. I mean, it's reductionist anyway to try and fit all of us into 12 boxes, right? The 12 signs of the zodiac. Though astrology is not that simple, I'm going to reduce it even further when it comes to how you are designed to make money in talking about the one of three money modes that you are. Obviously, there are not only three kinds of people, but this is a biggie that can then be broken down into more nuance of your very specific codes of earning and investing, which we do in my week-long Cosmic Cash Code sessions. You've heard me speak with people during the hour-long recordings of the interviews for this podcast. It is such a great top-level, reductive, general, simplified thing to know about yourself that, very interestingly, when you then look back to either work or business situations that did or didn't work for you, oftentimes this explains it. The other reason that knowing your money mode is so powerful is that I find in business, for business owners specifically, this is one of the biggest things that creates this aha around a way that you've likely been judging yourself because you've been comparing yourself to other people. And, this is the case for any aspect of your chart, but these three ways that one can choose to make money and forge an entrepreneurial path really do set people apart. And so to whatever extent you've been comparing yourself to other people that have a different money mode from you, this is going to explain so much of why that doesn't work for you, but also is likely going to reveal inner dialogue, inner critic kind of judgments that you've had toward yourself and your chosen path, or your resistance to and straying from what happened for most people, the kind of success that you see for most people in the online entrepreneurial space. This is going to make it all make sense once you know which one you are. Without further ado, the three that we're talking about, the way that I name and understand these is around your relationship with money. So I break it down into three relationship types that, spoiler alert, disclaimer, you probably are not the same one with money and with your business that you are in your intimate relationships. But I find these metaphors really helpful to understanding what these are when it comes to your money. So So we are talking about serial monogamists, the polyamorists, and the lifers. Now, there's some interesting trends around this in the entrepreneurial sphere, particularly those that are attracted to work with me, which is that most entrepreneurs are either the serial monogamist or the polyamorist. Less of them are the lifer. I want to point to this first. This is the broadest stroke that we can make to understand these, both in terms of what they are, what the two camps are within these three money modes, and the fact that two of the three are the most common in entrepreneurship. So if you are a lifer entrepreneur, which is rare but totally a thing, it's so helpful to know that you're in the minority around this. Lifers are those people in the entrepreneurial space that you see that really find their thing early on, right? It's really easy for them to niche down within their business, and they often create a signature or legacy program and then go the distance with that. If you are not this person, if you are not a lifer money mode, if you are one of the more common in the entrepreneurial space of the serial monogamist or the polyamorous, the examples of these people might seem glorified because when it works, and it works for these people. And it is much more simple. It's a simplified version of what is going to work for most entrepreneurs, because being able to find that one thing and go the distance with it, you're not constantly having to put so much creative energy to new things. You're just able to refine what you already have. You're able to take the feedback and make little tweaks, but ultimately it's more like a couple degree turn of a cruise ship and not full on flipping bitches at the whim when you get a new idea, right? I will say, disclaimer at the beginning as well, I'm a polyamorous money mode. So I am not a lifer. I am not one of these people. I do well juggling essentially and diverting my attention between different things. But I've learned a lot from my lifer money mode people. And I will say, caveat, my north node is in Taurus, kind of my guiding north star is in being able to settle and simplify into things. So there's so much medicine for lifer money mode people for me. And what I've learned from them is the value of commitment, committing to one thing and trusting that, similar to a long-term relationship, no, that person maybe isn't going to, and likely, definitely isn't going to meet all your needs all the time. But there's a trust in the choice that you made to go on that path of committed love with that person, that the challenges that you face are going to have a lot to teach you, and that there is just as much onus and responsibility on you for how you show up for that relationship, how you create a space where it can shift and change and evolve, but all within the container of that relationship. And there's something so beautiful there, right? People talk about with mastery going your 10,000 hours with something and how much more deeply you're able to go because you're not constantly making turns, jumping ship. You're able to go on this path of deepening. And it ends up being, again, like a container, a space for you to evolve within and to refine your offering inside of, and to really settle in terms of mastering your craft. For these people, it's so helpful to know this about yourself. However, most of what you see in the entrepreneurial space are people that are creating product suites and customer journeys and constantly launching new things, right? And if you're a life or money mode person, you probably see these people and one, again, on the judgment side, wonder what might be wrong with you, that you don't want to do that. It's like with life or money mode people, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just continue to evolve and modify and upgrade it. Make little tweaks to make it work better and better and better, and to be more of what people need from you based on the feedback that you get from the people that have already experienced it. But it is so important to know, if this is you, that you are not designed to constantly be coming up with new things. And so just this simple permission slip, once you find this out about yourself, that everybody that you see in the online entrepreneurial space that is that way, of which we are the majority, that you are not designed to do it that way. And so you can just liberate yourself from any pressure or any thoughts that you might be doing it wrong to do it different, that you are designed this way. And honestly, like I said, there's a part of how you do it, if you fully double down and embrace that this is the way you are designed to do it, that makes the rest of us like, oh God, if only it could be that simple, right? I say right to the rest of us, the others that are listening to this that can relate more to being one of the other two. So on the other side are the polyamorous and the serial monogamous. And I think that the reason that we are more common in the entrepreneurial space is because it's a big part of why self-employment is so attractive, is that it creates this opportunity to be able to shift course when you feel like it, create new things, like to follow that thread of creativity and feel really free and liberated to be able to switch things up on the regular. The people that are these other two money modes, we get bored easily, essentially. So although there might be a little bit of, wow, God, if only it could be so simple, seeing the people that are able to niche down and create their legacy program and for it to be a simpler space for them to settle into, for the most part, we're like, actually, that would be so boring for me. There's no way that would keep my attention and keep my passion and my creativity, to keep it in one container like that. I need to be able to spill over into other things when I feel called to, because that's what keeps me connected to myself, my mission, my purpose, my passion, and my creative flow. Now, that's the similarity between what makes up the majority of self-employed people, are that we get bored easily. We do need to be able to switch things up. We would not do well to just find that one thing and take it the distance like a lifer can. Also, by the way, before we get too far off of that kind of wrapping up the lifer people, a lot of people end up finding their thing in a career, a company, right? That I think is also why lifers are less common in the entrepreneurial space. It's more likely that you are going to meet that need in another environment that's not entrepreneurship. However, in the context of entrepreneurship, the way it typically shows up is finding your niche, finding your thing, finding that signature program, and rolling with it. With the others, it's more bouncing around, but there are differences too. So similarities, get a little bit bored easily. One of the common judgments, if you are one of those other two, is that you have shiny object syndrome, or that you are unable to commit, that you have commitment issues in your business or related to your money. This is the one that I'm going to dispel right off the top here, is that if that's you, you're literally designed to, I wouldn't say chase the shiny objects, because inherently there's more judgment in that, but you really are designed to follow your creativity where it takes you. Here's where the two are different though. With the serial monogamists, those that have that as your money mode, you are designed to show up fully and give your all to what's right in front of you, to the project that you're focusing on, and to stay the course with it until it feels like it's time either to close it and move on to the next thing, or oftentimes to make it more passive, get to a point where it's not taking so much of your acute energy and you're able to pour your attention into the next thing. So for some people, it is more of a meandering, first, I'm all in on this thing, this is what I'm doing, and now more of a hard break, bringing that to a close and moving on to pouring my energy and attention and focus into the next thing. You've seen entrepreneurs like this. Whereas for some, it's more of a trail being left behind of creating a product suite along the way where you're focusing more of your active energy and attention, more of your manual focus on one thing at a time until it gets to a point where it's almost running itself. You delegate it, you automate it, you make it more passive in some way, you put it away, and it's still there and part of what you're offering, but there's a ripeness and a readiness to pour yourself into something else and give that your focus and attention until that feels complete and ready to put away or move on or put in a different place relative to whatever the next thing you're working on is. Think about this in romantic relationships. These are the people that have back-to-back long-term relationships. It's not that they found their high school sweetheart person from the beginning and went from there, but they show up fully committed for each person, one person at a time, until it feels time to mindfully end that container and that relationship and start with that fresh new relationship energy with something new, right? That inspires them and lights them up in a different way again. And then they go a shorter distance with them than the lifers, but they really pay attention for when things are ready to shift, when that time naturally comes. These people might have judgments on both sides. They might judge themselves when they're in it with something, that they're putting too much focus on that one thing and not allowing themselves to be creating new things, or they might judge themselves when it feels time to come to a close, that they have commitment issues or shiny object syndrome or just can't stick with one thing. So these people can swing both ways in terms of the judgment that comes. They're like not quite lifers, they're not quite polyamorous. They're somewhere in the middle, and their genius, their most optimal relationship with their money flow comes from really being focused and present and all in while it feels like time to do that with a client or a project or an offering or a job, whatever it is, and then to really give themselves to the process of conscious uncoupling, dissolution, finding a new place for something, shifting their relationship with that thing to be able to avail themselves to be more present for whatever the next thing is that's calling their attention and inspiring them to pour themselves into. The last one is the polyamorist, of which I mentioned I am a polyamorous money mode. These are the people that, if you are not this one, by the way, probably looks so chaotic, but these are the people that have multiple pokers in the flame, multiple plates spinning, multiple balls in the air at any given time. If this isn't you, it probably seems so chaotic and stressful. But for those of us that are a polyamorous money mode, it actually works really well to be kind of bouncing around multiple things in the same timeline. I can tell you that for me and for most of us that have this money mode, what works so well is that we're able to learn and be informed by one thing and then turn and apply that immediately to something else. And through the triangulation in that way, that is actually our best way to progress, to feel on purpose, to do it our way and feel in flow with our business. I'll give you the example that, say you create an SOP for something and it just massively enhances your efficiency in one project, one area of your business. Us polyamorous people are going to be like, oh my goodness, I need to do this in every aspect of my business. And we're going to go through and do a sweeping pass where we make that SOP efficiency upgrade in all of our different workflows before we circle back and go through the whole process again with some other nugget that we get that works in one place that we want to apply in other areas of our business. That's the way it shows up for me. Granted, I am a Virgo moon as a qualifier, so I just love finding those little puzzle pieces and going and tweaking them in different areas ideas. For someone else, it might be more of that fiery Sagittarius type vibes where they would get uninspired focusing on one thing. And so they have multiple things going. They turn toward what makes them feel lit up and excited. And then they're able to point that inspiration back to something that was feeling less vital. So it could be a matter of keeping the vibes high, keeping the energy high, the inspiration flowing by having multiple things to turn toward. It could be more in the mental realm, that Gemini space where new ideas come through. Maybe working with one client gives you these ideas that you're then able to turn and apply to and create more value for another client. So it's the giving and receiving ideas that keeps everything fresh at the same time. It might be more of the watery Pisces flavor, that part of what keeps the emotional energy flowing. And so keeping everything really relevant and inspired for you is that you feel meaningfully connected. So there's like a connection that happens in one area that you're able to turn and apply to another. You can see that I use the example here. I went through the 4 elements. We can do these with any of them. So where these money modes come from is we are looking at the archetypes that initiate the money access. So the 2nd and 8th houses. This is also why you're going to have the same money mode, that same movement of energy for your codes of earning and your codes of investing, but they're going to show up differently because they're going to be in different elements. But these are the fixed, cardinal, and mutable opening archetypes of the 2nd and 8th houses. That's the astrological, technical jargon for it. But we are able to see what is the common movement of elemental energy that is associated with opening both your 2nd and 8th houses, so that there is one common movement between the two, and that is your money mode. This is also why you probably don't have the same kind of relationship with other areas of your life as we move through and around the wheel and these rotate as you do with money, right? It's going to be different at different parts of your chart. But we could do the same thing with the 4 elements for the other 2. And this is why in your Cosmic Cash Code session, we go much more deeply. Once we identify what that overarching money mode is that's common between the 2, we then go deeply into each of what are your specific codes of earning and investing. And this is where we get the clues and the keys to what is going to work the best for you around those areas of your life, not just with the sign, but we also go into the rulership and are able to see a web of archetypes that reveals a really specific version for you of what those codes are. Back to the polyamorous money mode people. These are the people that very purely often judge themselves until they know this about themselves and their design, that they have shiny object syndrome, right? That they just can't seem to stick to one thing. Maybe they associate it with some ADD. The terms of this lens, though, it's the superpower side of that, right? And again, I mentioned there's different ways that that happens, but it's how we're able to turn and apply one thing to something else and really get benefit from it, that anybody else that's not this money mode would be like, dude, that's just a lot to navigate. That's a lot to hold at once. I mentioned this is our launch pad to look in a much more nuanced and specific way to you what your cosmic cash codes are, as I like to call them, what your specific design is around how you make your money, how you invest your money, your capacity to receive and expand and scale around how you make and grow your money. And so this serves as the financial foundation when it comes to your astrology chart before we go into anything else, which is actually day 2 of your Cosmic Cash Code session. Day 1 is the foundation before that, before we even get into financial stuff and the money side of your chart. We look at your grounding codes, which is your sun, your moon, your rising, and your moon phase. These things that, regardless of what we're looking at in your chart, everything needs to be true to that core luminary foundation. These sessions are my favorite way to go deep with people around their chart. We do it over the course of a week on Telegram, which I've gotten feedback that it's basically like having your own personal podcast and so much time in between each day. Most astrology readings, if you've ever gotten one, it feels like a fire hose, is the feedback that I've gotten on the receiving end. It's like, yeah, of course, it's cool to have these ahas and these reflections that are really cool to know about yourself from your chart, but you're not actually able to practically implement anything because it's just a lot of information all at once. It almost feels more like entertainment than any practical mentorship. So that's why I do these sessions over the course of a week, because even something as simple as your money mode is going to bring up a lot for you. Like I said in the beginning, when you find out what yours is, oftentimes you get this aha, not about what I said, but about like, oh, that's why this, that, and the other project or job really felt right and why these ones didn't and kind of fell apart. You get these ahas that connect with these experiences that you've already had. Because the thing about astrology is I don't do a predictive astrology, and I'm not actually here to blow your mind. I'm not here to tell you anything that you don't already know about yourself. I'm here to affirm and create a lens of understanding for you to deepen your relationship to what alignment looks like for you. And such a big part of that is reaching into your memory and your experience base and sharing and reflecting on where these things that I'm revealing, where these codes and keys are true for you, and where they illuminate why things were out of sync for you, out of alignment, why it didn't work for you. So such a big part of these sessions is our back and forth. Each day I deliver a new code, and then we back and forth and reflect on and really root your understanding into what I'm saying so that you can carry this forward as a practical code that you use to inform your decisions. Even though it's the most one-on-one way to work with me, you get my most nurturing one-on-one attention. It's actually my lowest cost offer. So if you are a business owner and you are playing the money game, the self-employed money game, and you don't yet know the astrological codes of your birth chart, of your birth moment, that are designed as cheat codes essentially for you to be able to make more abundance, grow more abundance, and to do it in a way that really feels like you're on purpose and on track, we got to do this session for you at some point. When you book, you can then decide what week you are going to be the most present. I do these from Wednesdays to Wednesdays. So if you're ready to find out more, you can go to cosmicbee.link/cash codes. I outline what all the areas are that we go through, and you can book your session and choose your week and get this in your repertoire, in your tool belt. These codes you are going to take with you forever forward. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you end up working for someone else, doing contractor side gigs, whatever it is, these are your codes around how you are designed most efficiently and most fulfillingly to make, grow, and scale your money. If you have any questions, I love to geek out on this stuff. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Lauren Poppins Ray or email me, lauren@cosmicbizwitch.com. I would love to talk to you about what you already know, what your gaps are, and see if this is a fit to empower you even more deeply to live by your design as you make and grow your money.